Okay, so we were on the debtors account, and I was telling you that for you to prepare a debtors account, you need to identify all the variables that affect debtors. And so we're able to quickly go through credit sales because that brings debtors. Return invoice. Return invoice is, the debtors can return some of the goods back to us. They can give us cash or check to pay off some of the debt. Some of the debt can also be written off as bad debt. Previously written off bad debt can be recovered. And then okay, so let's look at how you put in this. But in accounting, you don't forget your balance brought down or any opening balance. It's very, very important. So in this case, debtors have an opening balance at the debit side. So their balance So they have their balance at the debit side. Then let's go through this together. When we pick an item, we would just analyze whether that item is going to increase their balance or decrease it. And I indicated to you that debtors have a debit balance. So anything that would increase it, you debit. So debit anything that increases it. And then you credit anything that reduces it. So my first question is credit sales. Credit sales, does it increase debtors balance or it doesn't? Credit sales. If you have an idea, you can unmute and tell me. Credit sales. As we all know, you sell goods to somebody on credit. Does it increase debt or it reduces it? Hey, do I need to call you? Mention names. You answer me. Okay, Brad Kenneth. Okay, I'm seeing some typing there. Okay, Ethan, you say it does. It does what? Increase or decrease? Okay, increase. Okay. So it is common knowledge that when you sell goods to people on credit, it increases their debt. The more you sell to them on credit, the more their debt increases. So it means that credit sales will be debited to our debtors account. Okay. Then the next one, return invoice. Return invoice. Does it increase or decrease the debtors balance? Return invoice. Who's going to share the idea? Return invoice. Okay. You people prefer typing in the chat. It reduces, that's true. So if return invoice is going to reduce or decrease the debtors balance, then we have to credit it. So we are going to credit returns inwards. Those who are joining us late, I'm recording both lessons, so I'll share it in the group later for your usage. Now, cash or check received. When you receive cash or check from your debtors, this one we don't need to even argue about it. Nipa no do can we be to so the debt will decrease. So any cash or check received will be credited to the account. Okay. Bad debt. Okay. As we know, bad debt means nipa no to mean so you are kind of canceling it. So it even makes sense. If you are canceling the debt, it is decreasing the debt. So bad debt will be here. Okay. The next item is bad debt recovered. This is sometimes you don't have to stress yourself too much. If bad debt is going to decrease it when you recover it. Okay. So let me do the analysis for you. Somebody was owing you 50 cedis, right? And then you wrote it off as bad debt, you canceled it. Okay, so you canceled it minus 50, so it became 0. And now the person comes back and tells you that, oh, I'm going to pay your money. So you see that you are recovering the debt back. So the debt will shoot back or increase back to its original state. So bad debt recovered will be here. And then I think I forgot another important element, that's discount allowed. Discount allowed. As we all know, we allow these customers some discount when they are making payment. So let me find out from Teacher Kenneth. Discount allowed, would it increase or decrease the debtors balance? Discount allowed, would it increase or decrease the debtors balance?
So please, it will decrease.
That is true. It will decrease because listen to the name allowance. Allowance means you are reducing something, right? So discount allowed would also be here. And then we have the dishonored check. Dishonored check. Let me go through that with you. Somebody owes you 50 cedis. When he pays or gives you a check of 50 cedis, it is expected that the debt will come to 0. So when you go to the bank and the bank dishonors the check, a dishonored check means the bank will not pay because there are issues with it. Maybe the date is wrong, the amount in figures is not equal to or does not tally with the amount in words, or maybe part of the check is torn, etc. Yes, somebody is asking discount allowed. Yes, it's an expense. But in the debtor's account, it is credited. So the double entry is you credit the debtor and you debit discount allowed. So yes, discount allowed is an expense, all right, and has a debit balance. But in the debtor's account, it is credited. So that is to Blessing. Blessing, if you are not clear, let me take my time and give you examples. Are you confused that we are putting it at the credit side? Okay. So Blessing, the double entry for discount allowed is you debit discount allowed account and you credit the debtor. So when you pick discount allowed account, it is an expense account. But in the debtor's account, discount allowed is credited. So don't get confused there. Okay. It is in the debtor's account, not the discount allowed account. In the discount allowed account, you debit it because it's an expense. But in the debtor's account, it is credited. And the reason I just gave you is that because discount allowed reduces the debtors balance, so it is credited to the debtors account. Okay. Remember, the focus is on the debtors account, right? So I was explaining the dishonest check. So dishonest check, the person owes you, so he owes 50, gives you a check of 50. It is expected that the debt will be 0 because we are using check. If the check bounces and now the core bank gonna say the debt will have to go back. Okay, you go to the person and say, oh, the check you gave me bounced. So it's like you are going to cancel that. So the person will now owe you 50. So the debt that got to 0 will come back to 50. So it's going to increase. So this annual check is going to be debited. And these are a few things you need under this topic to prepare your debtors account. So at the end of the period, you balance it, balance carry down. And your provision for bad debt will be calculated. Please hear me and hear me well. Your provision for bad debt will be calculated on this balance carried down, which is the closing balance. Remember always that we make provisions at the end of the year. Okay, at the end of the year, that is when we make provision. So if you are to calculate any provision for bad debt, it should be on the closing balance of debtors. Okay, now you'll be fair to go so that you can go and visit it anytime. Any calculation you would make for provision for bad debt should be on the closing balance of debtors. Well, you may only do for the opening balance when the question guides you to do that. Okay. Because there are some questions because we already had previous provisions. It will be required of you to show that opening balance in the provision. But if you are calculating your provision for bad debt at the end of the year, it should be on the closing balance of your debtors figure. Okay, so gentlemen, this is how you prepare your debtors account. Let me balance the account up. So put in your totals. Then this carry down becomes brought down and you are done with it. Okay, so your carry down now comes here, balance brought down. That's your debtors account. So in the question that came in your exams, you needed to prepare your, I think there's a question in the chat. Let me see. Please say, I'm out. Tomorrow I'm doing something. Okay. Sorry. Bye-bye. Have a good night. Okay. So, but any question on the debtors account before we continue from any of you, Ethan, Blessing, Kenneth, Sylvester? Any question on the debtors account? Don't get confused. If you are preparing a debtors account, the thing is very simple. Look at these items. And if you look at these items, you will know that each of them affect debtors, either by increasing their balance or decreasing it. So the trick or the technique is that anything that increases the balance, you debit it, and anything that reduces the balance, you credit it. So as we went through picking each item to see whether it increases or decreases the balance. You can take your time, take them one by one, and do your analysis as well. So any questions so far before I move on? Okay, in order not to bore you, Okay, I think today I've taught something small. So provision for bad debt, we saw the 3 entries. First, when you are creating it, and we said when you are creating it, you debit profit and loss, you credit provision for bad debt account. When you are increasing it, it's the same for when you are creating. But when you are decreasing it, you debit provision for bad debt and you credit profit and loss account. But we saw that it is necessary sometimes for you to prepare your debtors account, because this provision is made on the debtors balance. Okay. So sometimes it's necessary for you to prepare your debtors account. So if you look at the question, you can see some of the items we were playing with. The credit sales is here, the cash received is here, the bad debt is here. So you would use this information to prepare your debtors account, right? But today is our first class. I don't want to do more to confuse you. If for nothing, at least you have experienced the debtors account and the 3 key double entries you have to do regarding provision for bad debt. So any questions for me?
Okay, sir. So please, you see the balance, the credit sales and the returning was. How did you get? So you see the sonnet check and
Yeah.
you know, so question it means like
Yeah.
balance
So
on the account.
yeah.
And
So yeah, Kenneth. So for this one, we are just looking at the general debtors account. Okay. So we're looking at all possible items affecting debtors. Okay. So we went through. I think the first thing is credit sale. Somebody becomes a debtor when you sell to the person on credit. So credit sales is the first one. And you know when you sell, definitely they can return some of the goods back to you, the business, and that's returning was. Now these debtors may also pay cash or check. Okay. Some of the debt may be cancelled by the business. That's bad debt. The previous debts that were cancelled may be recovered. Okay, obi wɔ hɔ a wo cancel ne debt so wontumi ntua, but the person can come back and say, oh, now I have money I want to pay, and that's bad debt recovered. Okay. And then dishonored check. The debtor gave you a check, you went to the bank, and the bank didn't honor it. Okay. And lastly, discount allowed. So these are major variables that affect debtors. Now, as to whether you debit or credit, use the analysis. Is it increasing the debt or decreasing the debt? So when we pick credit sales, for instance, the more you sell to somebody on credit, the more the person owes. So credit sales increases debtors balance. That is why we are debiting it here. Returning was, okay, the person is bringing back some of the goods. So imagine if we sold to somebody for 20,000 cedis and the person has returned 5,000 of the goods, then the debt is going to reduce from 20 to 15. That is why returning is credited here. So Kenneth, are you getting it? So these are general things that affect the debtors. Now, when you are given a question, you only pay attention to the items given you. So if there's no dishonored check here, I don't expect you to put it in your debtors account when you are solving this question. Is that okay?
yes.
Okay, I think I would think any more questions, please. Any more questions? Ethan, Blessing, Thomas, late comma. I'll share the videos with you later so you can have it. Sylvester, any question? Okay, so no questions. Good. So, in fact, if I want to solve, okay, I think I have a sample from the chat. No, please, okay. I don't want us to go much into the question, but I may end up confusing. You need to know these basics before we attempt the question. So for now, let's rest on the debtors account and the 3 double entries. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for making time to join the class. I recorded the lesson, so I'll share the videos so that you can play it. And so I'll see you on the WhatsApp page. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.